Thank you, sir. We will now have a message by Professor K.B. Akhilesh, Professor, Department of Management Studies, Indian Institute of Science, on the key focus area of the keynote address.
And the Sharmaji, and also our Dr. Janardhan, we see there, joined late, and Kamalanaban, and the main architect of this, Lata Krishnan, and all the full team. Let me congratulate you for an excellent thought to put together this kind of a conference. As you know, I will talk a little more, but let me make few observations at the beginning. India followed, after independence, a strategy called IISc strategy. We are hearing IISc a number of ways, but this IISc strategy is import substitution industrialization strategy. So we thought that is what will help India to industrialize. But more or less we failed because it increased our dependence on the other countries to borrow the technology. We were never able to master because most of the time we got outdated technologies and we were struggling to manufacture those outdated technologies. That did not help. Then we thought we will liberalize. The post-91 we have heard these terms, liberalization and globalization. We thought we will get whatever the technologies and many people will come and do their manufacturing here. But most of the time we got only technology in the finished goods level, and we got only the ready products, and our dependence on the technology increased, and we thought we will get into the more innovation mode. But this innovation mode takes an enormous amount of time and effort, and that also has not happened the way it should. Exceptions are in the space technology, exceptions are in the atomic energy, in the Param supercomputers area. So wherever there was a kind of a committed, a motivated team was put together, they delivered it. At the same time, we have a word called the inclusive growth. Please understand this, because the India divided not only the urban and rural, but we are also going to get a large number of students, people particularly in the age group of about 18 to 22, and it is going to be about 30 million, which constitute almost about the 1/4 of our population, and they all require job, they require career, they require prosperity, they have lots of aspiration, and it is high time that we need to think of another model, and that is where we got into this Make in India. I think it's a phenomenal in terms of the effort and the kind of hands all of us have to put together, and then see that our manufacturing capability builds and contributes through getting some of the best of the products manufactured in India, and through that our people, our students who are graduating from various institutions with skills, they get their jobs, and both bring the economic prosperity, at the same time bring that harmony in the society. We will talk more. Thank you very much for inviting me to be for this conference. I will elaborate in my keynote address. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Professor Akhilesh's full keynote address will be after the felicitation ceremony. All are requested to kindly be seated for the keynote address which will follow. Ladies and gentlemen, today is Martyrs' Day. In commemoration of our great soldiers who laid down their lives defending the sovereignty of our nation, we request the audience to kindly observe 2 minutes silence and salute the sacrifice of our martyrs. Be seated. Time to felicitate our chief guest and our guest of honor. May I request our Provost, Dr. S.C. Sharma, to kindly felicitate Professor H.R. Nagendra, Chancellor for S. Vyasa Yoga University. I request all the dignitaries on the dais to kindly join in. Nagendra has been appreciated for his dedicated efforts in making yoga a way of life and spearheading research in yoga therapy. I would like to make a special mention here. Professor Nagendra has been chosen for the Padma Awards in recognition of his contributions and will be felicitated by our Honorable Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi, this year. I would also like to mention that he is an ex-NASA personnel and has done our India proud. Thank you, sir, for your contributions. I now request our Provost, Dr. S.C. Sharma, to kindly felicitate our guest of honor, Swami Saraswatananda, President of Ramakrishna Ashram, Rajkot, for his contributions to the society. Ladies and gentlemen, please give him a standing ovation. Thank you, sir, for your contributions. I request the dignitaries on the dais to kindly felicitate Professor K.B. Akhilesh, Professor of Department of Management Studies, Indian Institute of Science, for his contributions as an acclaimed academician and management expert, enriching the lives of thousands of students and inspiring academicians. Please give him a round of applause. Thank you, sir. I now request our Director, Dr. Lata Krishnan, Organizing Secretary for this conference, to kindly deliver the vote of thanks.
We finally have come to the last part of the program, and it is my pleasant duty to propose the vote of thanks. I thank our chief guest, Dr. Nagendra Guruji, for an enlightening talk about the different dimensions of creativity which can be acquired through yoga and meditation. I thank you very much, Guruji, for enlightening us the importance of yoga and meditation to bring in the creativity and innovative mind that can inspire our students to have this new dimension of creativity through yoga and meditation. Thank you so much, Guruji. Now, it's my great privilege to thank our guest of honor, Swamiji, for gracing this occasion and sharing his views about the different models wherein India which has to adopt these different models for global convergence. And it's a long way to go with Swamiji as making us to realize this, how we can make this Making India ecosystem through creativity and innovation by adopting the Chinese model and the other European models through manufacturing hubs have to innovate, create, and inspire the youngsters for Making India initiative. Thank you so much, Guruji. Thanks a lot for gracing us for this occasion. Now, it's my great privilege to thank Professor K.B. Akhilesh for his thought-provoking address for a few seconds on ISI technology and for his constant support and encouragement throughout this conference. Now, I would really want all of you to get a new dimensions of Making India ecosystem through Sir's keynote address, which will follow shortly. Thank you so much, sir, for being with us. Hi. My profound thanks to our respected Provost, who is Dr. S.C. Samaji, for his constant support and encouragement throughout the planning and execution of this conference. Sir, thank you so much for your constant support and encouragement. Thanks a lot, sir. I would like to thank Professor T.J. Kamalanathan, my mentor in IIT Madras, who had come all the way from Chennai to grace this occasion. Sir, I thank you very much. The sir is there in the plenary session. I want all of you to be there to experience the kind of energy sir would exhibit in his plenary session. Thank you so much, sir. I would like to thank Dr. Joy Mukhopadhyay, who has always been with us whenever I require any kind of support and help. Sir is always there. Sir, I thank you very much for being present here. And sir is also going to chair the plenary session. I want all of you to experience this. Thank you very much, sir. Now, CPS, our principal of Engineering College, CPS Prakash, who will also be with us throughout this conference. Sir, I thank you so much for your constant support and the excellence that has been there by the engineering students. I want all of you to please go through the different models and the projects that the engineering students have exhibited in front of the auditorium. Thank you so much for your support, sir. I'd like to thank our beloved principal of IISc, Gopal Reddy sir, for his constant support. Thank you so much for your presence, sir. Thank you so much, sir. My special thanks to Professor Janardhan, the Prof. Chancellor, and the SCVP of DSI for in spite of this very schedule to make his presence here. Thank you so much for coming, sir. Thanks a lot for gracing this invitation, sir. Thank you so much. My special thanks to the Registrar of SVSR University, Dr. Subramanian Pairu. He will be with us and sending all kinds of support to SVSR University. Sir, I thank you so much for coming here and gracing this occasion. Thanks a lot, sir. Who's also come here to grace the occasion. Sir, we thank you so much, sir, for your presence. I thank the Director of PPM Department, Wing Commander Venkatesh. Sir, I thank you so much for always being with us for our constant support. Thank you so much, sir. All the professors, faculties of other colleges of Bangalore universities were all present here. I thank you all for being here and gracing the occasion and contributing towards the conference. Thank you so much.
I also thank the professors, the ethics department, and the faculty members of DSR and DSU and SPSR University for their gracious presence. Thanks a lot, all of you who are present here. I am enthused and grateful for the presence of the students of the different colleges of Bangalore University and other university. I thank all of you students for being present here. Thanks a lot. I thank the media for their presence and also the caterers for good food, please. All of you say that for food. Last but not least, I thank my students, my faculty members of IISc who have made a tireless effort for the last few days, including late sitting and working on holidays to make this program, this conference a success. My heartfelt thanks to my team who have been there throughout. Thank you so much, students and the faculty members, to make this event a grand success. Thank you so much. Finally, I thank all the others who are present today for being here and for their constant support. I also like to mention Dr. C. Manohar, the Dean of IISc, who's been constantly supporting us in our endeavor. If he is not present in absentia, I would like to thank. I also would like to thank Dr. Prahalada in absentia. He sends his warm greeting and also want me to send a message. He says that Make in India and sustainable Make in India should be the outcome of this conference. Everyone present here, the youngsters, to look in for redesigning, research and reworking on all the projects and the processes for sustainable Make in India. I thank Dr. Prahalada in absentia. Thank you, sir. I also would like to thank Dr. Janardhan, CBSS Director, Bangalore University, who's also been very constant in support and his encouragement. I thank him also in absentia. He will be present for the valedictory function. Now, thank you very much for this grand success. Thank you so much. The inaugural function will go on very well. I thank one and all present here. Thank you and namaskar. Thanks a lot.
We will now be reading the keynote address. The few minutes from now.
Starting off with the keynote address in a few minutes from now. Having an illustrious career, he is the president of Rajiv Gandhi Institute of Petroleum Technology, Rai Bareilly. He is also the honorary dean at SPSR Yoga University. He is the coordinator for MTech program for technology management at Defense Institute of Advanced Technology. Professor Akhilesh, a graduate of science, has completed his master's in social work with a first rank and completed his PhD from the Indian Institute of Science with a gold medal. He has authored more than 12 books, his latest one titled R&D Management, published by Springer. He has published more than 140 papers in Indian and international journals and has guided more than 30 doctoral students. He is a widely acclaimed faculty world over, visiting various universities and organizations, and is a renowned consultant and trainer. His specific research interests includes collective intelligence at the team level, family business performance, expertise transfer, team design for virtual work and product development, vocational skill development, organizational development, and change management. He is a member of Academy of Management USA, National Institute of Personnel Management, National HRD Network, and others. He is also a member of the National Board of Accreditation, AICTE. He was honored for his lifetime contributions to HR by National Institute of Personnel Management. I welcome you, sir, for this keynote address. I request you to kindly take over.
If you evaluate that the initial efforts of industrialization, completely depending upon the importation, did not help to build that kind of a manufacturing capability in the country. This I am saying based on the detailed assessment of automotive sector as well as the machine building sector in India. And that is where we also had issues of quality. We were not getting the kind of quality in manufacturing within the country, and we always believed that imported products, imported machineries are much superior to the local ones, which was true in many sense, because we did not have that kind of a capability, because we were importing those machineries which were considered as outdated, or at least it was not used in those countries and which was sent to us. It's a strong observation, but it is very important to understand this implication, because until the late 1990s, we were not able to get that kind of a required technologies in the country. As we opened up, many of the countries came up with their manufacturing capabilities within India, but that too, we were not able to get engaged our own people in a big way, because most of the importation was in the subsystem level. So still, we lacked many things in the game of manufacturing. And that is where I would like to present the context of the business now. So when we look at the business, all these things are becoming very important. We are going to emphasize more and more on Go Green. I think the word is that kind of a sustainability. Our country largely depends on the agriculture. Our water is very important to us. Our ecosystem is extremely important. So in the future, when we look at Make in India, we need to keep this pressure on us. We need to protect our forest. We need to protect our agricultural land. So it should not become a conflict of interest. At the same time, support the required initiative. Also, as we are seeing, the more and more land will be required. The increase of space, the competing for that kind of a required space will be another important issue. The third kind of a thing we'll get very economical. Every aspect, whether it is healthcare, we would like to use affordable healthcare. So when we manufacture the products and services, you would always ask whether it is possible for a person from a rural area is able to buy. Can the poor person can afford this? So we would always like to use this word that how can we get from the less, we would like to have more. I think that's the kind of a thing. Indian expression is also called paisa vasool. So we would like to see how that best thing could be provided with the less of the things. But also in the increasing complexity. As we are seeing the technology is growing in different dimensions, and the kind of changes what is coming, I think the last 10 years is a great example. I think the future is going to be much more, because as more and more convergence is going to happen in some of the telecommunication area, the more and more innovation is going to come in the medical field through the integration of multidisciplinary effort of cell biology to yoga, to integration of various streams of medicines. I think these are the kind of challenges to the future, is that how do we deal with that kind of a complexity? Take any product which comes, as we started hearing earlier, the mechanical thing became mechatronics, the civil engineering got combined with electrical engineering when the power distribution. So there are many ways the disciplines are going to merge and then come up with their own solutions. Then also the speed becomes very important. The speed and the agility, as you are seeing in most of the film production, they want to collect every money within the first week, because the second week you don't know what's going to happen to the film. So that's going to be the kind of a pressure about the products and the kind of product life cycle. I think all these things kind of a thing will put the kind of the pressure. Then around that we are thinking of various trends, what is going to happen. The trends, basically I would like to see in terms of this. One of the key things happening is the system software. So the more and more the products and services will be driven by the software, as we are seeing, whether it is Ola or whether it is the kind of aircraft. From end to end you are going to see that the software would control our machines, the software would control our communication, the software will continue to influence the reproduction of our data. And the issue is that in terms of the person who is writing codes should also know about what is the hardware on which the software is going to sit. So the subsystems are going to drive many of the initiatives. And that's going to be the kind of thing what we are seeing, the kind of app in simple sense. But as we're going to see the product development, the software and engineering, or particularly the mechanical and others, are going to converge to develop new products. The second important thing is that the large-scale, high-value skills. So when we need to see what is the depth and what is the breadth, that's going to become a huge challenge to the future. So you want the person to be extremely good in the knowledge areas, of the knowledge domains, as well as one should also be savvy with respect to the business dimensions. And that is how the demands are going to come, that you need to be good at your writing skills, you need to be good at your communication, you need to be good at understanding and absorbing the kind of changes what is coming. At the same time, you need to have the capability to understand the product and related areas. And what we are going to see of these kinds of issues already perceived, very hard to skill vacancies are coming. There are many companies today, they always continuously complain that they are not getting the right kind of people. They are not getting the right kind of people having that kind of a required exposure. So we will see to the future very clearly also the retaining that kind of a staff, because the skill sets will be in demand, and the best of the skills always will be wanted, and then we will see how to bid this kind of a gaps. So the organizations will, when we think of the Make in India, should have skill owners. You need to understand what are the skills required and what kind of preparations are required to build that kind of a required skills to the future. The next important aspect, what we are going to see, that most of the things are going to be unmanned. So we are thinking of the cars coming like that. We are hearing that kind of a fly-by-wire with respect to the aircraft. Most of the manufacturing is going to happen without the presence of the people. That means all the work is going to happen in the back end. So that means the back end logistics, the back end in terms of the kind of required investments, the kind of infrastructure what is required, and we talk about the basics of like power supply, the quality of power. So many of these things will become, and what we are going to see, that kind of a wide range of applications in an unmanned world. So already people are looking at an example of UAV in pesticide applications. They want to watch whether the Namami Ganga project, whether it is clean or not. So the UAV will go through and observe and come back and report. So seamlessly these things are going to happen. So that means you need to understand the back end kind of a work, what kind of skills are required, what kind of challenges are there in getting into this. The other important aspect is the word called the digital manufacturing. And as we are seeing very, very clearly, the world is going to be virtual. So it's going to be very networked. Some example could be what happens in the Frankfurt airport is controlled in Magdeburg, which is about 300 miles away. So they will put the applications what is required. If five people are standing, they would like to watch what they are standing for, what they are discussing. If one person stands in the 5 minutes in the same place, one would like to watch very closely what is he doing or what is she doing. So these kinds of things are going to be there because you don't know from where these kinds of controls are being applied, and most of it is virtual, means it is not going to be face-to-face. The instructions are not going to be face-to-face. The communication is not going to be face-to-face. Work areas are not going to be face-to-face. So what we need to see, how does it going to affect? How does it going to affect our learning and teaching process in a university system? How does it affect in terms of our own work life? So we are just hearing some words like, so today I am working from home. Earlier we are hearing only the word school in the school system called homework. But today the work from home has become a kind of a buzzword. And we are going to see how the cyber-physical systems are going to come. We are using the word smart cities. And most of the smart cities are going to be connected through sensors, through various communication systems, and there will be a huge demand for integrating various technologies to deliver the required services. And the back of that is the kind of a big data, which will all see that kind of a complexity of integration and make sure that everything flies, everything delivers. So around this, we need to see how we are going to see the ecosystem. And the ecosystem, one of the key things will be in terms of the supply chain. And what we are seeing today, the e-commerce. The success of the e-commerce today is in terms of its delivery, in terms of its storage, in terms of acquisition of all the things at the back end. Classification of each of these items. It is not one, whether it is Flipkart or the Amazon. Then the thousands of items need to be tagged, thousands of items to be marked, thousands of items to be tracked, whether it is delivered or not. So the traceability and tracking and many of these things will demand a huge number of people who are extremely smart in terms of understanding the customer, understanding the product and product variations. Otherwise, something will be ordered, something will be delivered, and many things will come back. So in other words, we are seeing the prime suppliers will need to really have to work with the kind of system designers, and system designers need to work with both the product and the manufacturers, and also we need to see how these sub-assemblies are going to be delivered particularly in a B2B kind of a context. So the whole lot of this supply chain and the logistics will become an important aspect when we consider building or developing the ecosystem. The next important thing is to work at the component level. The component level is so important as we are getting into this Make in India kind of a movement. So we need to see that it is going to be multi-tier. So whether you look at automotive or whether it is going to be a huge issue. So that means high levels of skills are important to understand the business, to understand the complexities, to appreciate the uncertainties, and to have a plan A and plan B to deal with those specifics. And that is how typically you see a kind of a product development movement. Though this is a typical example of stage gate model. So you should know when to allow and when to kill a particular project. Otherwise, you may invest your time, you may invest your money, but the competition or the non-compliance or not able to keep that kind of a required agility may kill that kind of a business. The next, the kind of a solution what is coming is the kind of a co-creation. The co-creation is an important word to the future. I hope that every management school spends considerable time on this word co-creation, because as we are going to see to the future, the manufacturing technology, the technology management itself, much depends on the kind of a co-creation. That means an effective collaboration is required. Effective different platforms are required to work with the markets, the consumers. You will see that employees and the R&D, and the other time is the regulators and the suppliers. All these need to work together. Then there will be a convergence, then there will be a better performance. And that is where we need to look at the co-creation is all about. It comes about the customer focus. We also use this word end in mind. So extremely, the effort is required. Extreme effort is required to understand what is expected and how can we exceed that kind of an expectation of the customer. Then you will also see about the delivering that kind of a services. Today, there are many, you would have heard if you ordered a pizza or a kind of a thing, they say if 20 minutes late or late by that kind of a time, whatever they give, and they say it is free. I think these kinds of a regime is going to come as we expect to the future. The kind of demands are going to come from the customers. And then we should also say, how do we get to that kind of a mass customization? So that means the products are there, the product variations are there. Take anything today, there are about dozen variations are coming. The people were explaining to me the word of these diapers. So there are so many at the time of ordering, at the time of absorbing that order, and then classifying those things and supplying those things. Each of these things will become an important issue, not only of Make in India as a part of that, but it's a huge issue globally. And we will become more and more, we'll be in the steep learning curve. If we don't do that, then our products will fail, our markets also will fail. So that means we need to see how do we create that kind of a required awareness? How do we create that kind of an awareness to the product managers and also to the customers? And then a meticulous kind of a market research as we become more and more customer-centric in our co-creation effort, and certainly the total quality management. And when you are seeing it is the creation of this value through joint collaboration. Value what is customer is ready to pay for. And then the co-construct the experience. The co-construct the experience is very important. That means you have to bring the customer to see how you are doing it, and then understand what is that they would like to have, and then take a walk through. Our MTR is a good example. They make this customers to walk through their kitchen so that you are able to see what's going on. So that's the kind of a thing which is going to happen to the future. You need to call these customers to the manufacturing area. They should be able to see, they should be able to suggest, they should be able to get involved in the kind of a required R&D. And that is where the co-creation effort has to be thought as a kind of a collaborative effort, not only collaborative, but also how do we share these kinds of required experiences to build the quality, build better products, and deliver better services. This will take us to another set of things is this. How do we create these mindsets? How do we look at the co-creation space itself? As we are seeing, co-creation space is a two-way flow. Co-creation space is an extreme involvement of the customers. Co-creation is also where the organization and consumers can work with face-to-face, and also the virtual space. So that means they are able to watch, they are able to observe, they are able to see what is that they want seamlessly. And that is where the overlapping area we need to increase as we go to the future. And this is where I would come up with some of the 7 important areas when we are seeing how to look at this ecosystem and what we need to work on. One of the key things is about the innovation. Unless we understand this innovation, we would be continuously at the receiving end as we go to the future. So it is important to both the things. Not only we look at creativity as a part of this innovation, but also build that skills of implementation, build that skills of execution. So the execution becomes much more important in the Make in India effort. So achieve that kind of a quality, achieve that kind of a required timelines, achieve that kind of a delivery. So these are the important considerations when we look at this innovation, not only the ideas and creativity, but also the importance of implementation and execution. The second important thing is to build that organizations. Organization development, as all of you know, requires restructuring. Restructuring particularly the work culture. The work culture of Aram, Chalta Hai, Jugaad has to move away from it. And we need to come with very clearly, extremely planned, documented, a collective mindset we need to build, and we need to work towards implementing those innovations, implementing those practices. So it is important that building that kind of a competitive, the work culture, also create that experimentation, and people will have to take risks to be more proactive as well as good at problem solving. So these steps need to be taught, the steps need to be discussed, and the team discipline has to happen around understanding various problem solving steps, and at the end of it, the idea of teamwork is defined as no surprises. So to achieve that kind of a surprises, there must be awareness, there must be acceptance, and also there must be commitment. And the organization development has to work towards that. The third important thing in the building ecosystem is the community of practice. The community of practice, those of you who are interested to see the literature on COP, has emerged in the much today, where the effective networking between the experts. So the experts should be able to meet regularly, the experts should be able to review what is happening and also come up with. And within the organization, one need to have a quick access to the required experts. It is called yellow pages in many of the companies. So between the suppliers, between the research institutions and also the competitors. So today these words are co-location as a strategy, and also at the national level, there is an initiative called clustering all the relevant institutions who are working in the similar areas. So the clustering is another important initiative toward this Make in India happen. And also the access to collaborations through extremely the cross-fertilization of ideas. And I appreciate the Anand Sagar institution and also the Yes Vyasa to come together to look at various issues and how we can address some of these concerns. And the next important is the knowledge management. The number of ideas are there, but it is important to see what has worked very well and what has not worked very well. And then keep that kind of a thing of culture of knowledge sharing and build that kind of a digital platforms. The Swamiji was mentioning one of the initiatives they have taken in Goa, where we can go through those kinds of platforms to share our experiences and also the expertise transfer. Wherever some good work is done, so one need to observe. For example, in Jalgaon, there is an initiative of the Jain. So we need to look at those initiatives and write some case studies. Understand the case studies to how to scale it up, how to increase our effort towards making certain things better. The next agenda is about the people. I think this is going to be a challenge and also an opportunity for many in terms of how do we create that required mobility within the organization, across the region. Another important thing is how do we build that kind of a required mobility between the people, between the industry and academia partnerships, and then increasing this kind of a bonding and bridging. It is very easy for me to tell, but it requires much more elaboration much in detail how to look at this. So the funding is required to create that kind of a required professionalism in people. Then also on par with the industry. So most of the time our faculties are much lagging behind about what is happening. So it is important to keep ourselves up to date and then build this competencies, what is required, and also get this kind of a knowledge transfer support to increase our understanding and appreciation. Then the next aspect is the digitization, that to deliver the services, to deliver seamlessly the kind of collaboration, what is required is documentation, the knowledge preservation, communication, as well as the most important thing is the retrieval and reuse. The reuse of our experiences becomes very, very important to the future. So the three important thing is to develop this technology, to deploy the technologies, as well as to improve in whatever we are doing. So the digitization initiatives, already we are hearing these words, Digital India is going to be a complementary to this Make in India. And then the most important aspect, apart from all others what I said, is the leadership development. Leadership development, as we are having the visionary at the highest level, so we need to develop at various levels the leadership which is compelling, which is driven by the vision. Not only that, to promote excellence in execution, to enjoy that kind of an execution, and to promote that kind of a depth domain knowledge. Build that kind of a breadth as well as required the depth at every level. And enhancing this communication and negotiation skills. As we start getting into this kind of a movement, negotiation is very important about our resources, use of resources, pricing, and various issues. And also experiences towards this effective execution, and learning from other countries, learning from other cultures, and build that kind of a cross-cultural competencies. I think the takeaway message is very clear. I think all of you will be kind of a thing that we need to master the components level at the various parts which is going into the manufacturing. We need to build that kind of a design capability, because the persons who are writing the codes must also know the product and where the product is going to be placed. Then we need to manufacture, which meets both urban and the rural demand, as well as create that kind of the exports, this kind of a system software. That is our strength in IT to achieve that kind of a required global leadership. Thank you very much for your time. And then I think this is what I want to present before you.